So, good evening and welcome everyone. Before we begin the reading today, let's take a moment of silence to bring ourselves back in the body, bringing the mind with the breath, invoking Mother and Sri Aurobindo's presence. So today we have to, I think, start from so I think we ended here around page 65. I think, yes. So last time we were reflecting upon how we are always influenced by all the things happening around us, the moods of the people around us. Maybe the person who cooked the food, his vibration enters us through the food. And of course, all the things that are happening because we are so deeply interconnected with everyone and everything around. So we are always breathing in all the atmospheres around us. And then Mother was also sharing that towards the end of that passage that we are truly the masters of everything that has been brought together to create our transitory individuality. So we are the masters of, say, our thoughts, our feelings, our all the elements that we are composed of, and everything else that we can think, the conditions, the circumstances. And then she says, and the power of control is given to us if we know how to use it. So here actually comes the challenge because we don't know how to use it, and that is what we all struggle with, So in theoretically speaking, we may know that yes, maybe Mother says or Sri Aurobindo says, and I resonate that we are the masters of our life. But when it comes to very practical situations, and especially those situations which are our weaker spots, then we see ourselves failing, and we rather see ourselves as being victims of the situation rather than being the masters of situation. So that's about it. Uh, where we stopped last. Anything on this? Anyone? Any reflection to share here? Okay, so let's go ahead then. Today we have to take next paragraph or passage. Let's take it. If anyone would like to, let's just remind ourselves of the topic that we are doing. The topic is the power of thought. And there we had read that how everything becomes a trigger for us because we are not masters of ourselves. So, and at other point, Mother also shares one point that Mother says that we can carry our own atmosphere rather than being, because since we are interconnected and we are influencing each other all the time, why don't we carry our own very vibrant and full of faith atmospheres, which we can also kind of share around and spill it around? Why do we have to be victim of all the other atmospheres around? So that is for up to partake of and maybe do some sadhana, because it requires quite much of a discipline that we carry our own atmosphere wherever we go. And we do carry that atmosphere, maybe a weaker atmosphere, but if we want an atmosphere full of brightness and positivity and faith and surrender and love, that is also our possibility. So let's read this next one. If anyone would like to read, please go ahead. Okay, I can read if not anyone. Yeah, Shweta,
I
you will it?
yeah, I'll take it. My own experience is going on in the minutest detail. These details, these details are imperceptible in themselves, but point in a certain direction, which more and more is this. When you take a wrong attitude, it immediately sets off every disorder. It is almost as if you shifted into the wrong gear. That is not it, because gear is too rigid. But let us say the whole universe is rolling along smoothly, and it is only when you give only when you go like this or like that, mother indicates changes of position like a sort of shifting of gears, that disorders appear. There are many ways to have a wrong attitude. It is as if you shifted gears a little, things still work, assuming the mechanism to be particularly supple, but they grate. They grate and therefore wear out and deteriorate and break down. But if they were in the right position, there would be no friction. Shall I continue?
Yes, yes, please. You can finish.
It is It is the sense of friction which no longer exists. It disappears. There is no friction. The friction results only from the wrong angle, from something like a shift of position. Of course, this is much easier to express in psychological terms. Psychologically, it is very simple, crystal clear, but even materially, it is like that.
Thank you. Yeah, so anything here?
I feel it helps us to understand this example. It gives a perspective of how disorders happen. Like gears and wrong positioning and friction. It makes it real. It helps to understand. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah, anybody else? Anything here? So, it appears at times like things are very complex, and of course they are. It's not that they are not. But about this, this shifting of inner attitude, this wrong gear. And here we have to see that mother has not shared that there are three different wrong gears that you are getting into. She has just used the word it's a wrong gear. So it's a binary function we have to see. When we are relating with the world, when we are relating with our own life and the circumstances of it, or people in our own life, then there are two modes in which we usually work. I've seen, personally for myself, I see that it's like a binary function. It's not shades of gray that I am switching. So that's why I'm connecting with why mother uses, for example, of course, I cannot fathom why she uses exactly, but I'm just, with my limited understanding, trying to put it into my experience, that I see that there are two modes in which I operate. One is a mode of a very relatively ease. There is an ease within, and there is hardly any friction around with any people around me, or maybe the life circumstances. There is a certain ease which Kabirji uses the word sehaj. It's like an effortless ease with which we are kind of striding along in life. And then something happens which triggers something in me, and because of that, I take a wrong gear, which I feel is the gear of believing in this limited, separate sense of self, this me, and operating from that little ego consciousness. So, when I am operating from that ego consciousness, then things are really having a lot of friction everywhere with life situations, with people around me, and not with maybe everybody around me, but maybe some people around me. I'm feeling that friction. I'm feeling that friction in my mind. Amongst my feelings, I feel that friction because there would be many, many disturbing emotions arising because of ego consciousness. And then there are phases in our life where we are relatively very easy, where we are not demanding, desiring anything from the world or life to go in this way, that way. One is very easy, relatively at ease, and there is a smoothness regarding life, and there is hardly any friction. So I feel that this is a binary operation. Either it's the right gear or it's the wrong gear. There is nothing in between. And how Kabirji relates with it is that, either we are in the present moment or we are not in the present moment. So he says that it's very hard to be in the present moment, and it's like as if I am stationing myself on a top of a mountain peak. He uses the word. It's a very kind of a, as if, tip of oh, a sewing needle, and you are placing yourself on the top. The moment you slip, you fall, of course. And when we fall, it means we believe in our thoughts and feelings too rigidly, and present commentary too rigidly, either gone in past or future, or worried about things happening right now, and I'm not in the present moment fully. So it is a binary switch that happens, and I feel that all of us have that sense of glimpses of those moments when we are either fully in the present, very easy and not demanding, expecting too much, or we are not, of course, in the present, and then comes that friction when things are not okay. And at any point, we can take that U turn, and that's how we bring our mind to either mother's name or breath, so that we forget thoughts and feelings for right now, because they're just going, taking us in circles round and round, and we bring ourselves back to the body in the present moment, here and now, and things are okay. Things are easy there. Yeah. And it's only us who have to recognize that, oh, I switched into the wrong gear again, because that brings a lot of unease, because friction will bring a lot of unease. So all of us realize, I'm sure we all have glimpses, because when our ego consciousness is in operation, how much unease it gives us. We are not okay. We are trying to be okay, we are wanting to be okay, but with all those expectations and desires with life, who can be okay? No one. Because we don't know what is good for us, and whether these demands and expectations I have from life, are they good for me? No, we don't know. But we continue relentlessly demanding, 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 like a stubborn child, the same thing again and again. So it's very interesting, is all I can say. Quite interesting. The drama of our lives. Yes, Shweta?
Yeah, on similar lines, recently I was trying to reflect on a few, hurts of past, you know, now that I am in a better state of mind or understanding. So let me think, what are the lessons, they were trying to teach, or, what was it trying to convey? And I realized that when you think of them, then you feel no, there was no lesson. It was wrong. What was done was wrong. And the lesson largely is this only, to come back to now. And you can't, if I was thinking, ki, okay, let me for my, to empower myself in the future, let me think what were the lessons. But I realized no, you get into that, this was not fair, or so there is no lesson in that sense, other than that, be in the present, and future is also like be in the now only. So that is the largest lesson, I felt that, because there is no end to this ki, ye to theek nahi tha, it's never ending, I think. So just be coming back to now, and right now what I'm so peaceful, blissful, so stay with it. Future will be this, when it comes it will be now, and I have to just remind myself to be in the present moment. That was like a big moment of realization for me.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. Mm. Yeah. Anything else here, anyone? Yeah. So let us just go through the lines again. If there are any reflections we can take. My own experience is going on in the minutest details, those details that are imperceptible in themselves, but point in a certain direction, which more and more is this: when you take a wrong attitude, it immediately sets off every disorder. So, this is what we have to actually be conscious of, that where did I, some switch has happened, and we all have consciousness, the light of consciousness shining within us, and that tells us uh, whether the wrong turn has been taken. And the beautiful thing is that the wrong turn can be undone at any moment. At any moment that we become aware of the wrong turn, we can undo it. And as Sri Aurobindo shares in Savitri, that the treasure is forever kept safe. Our true being and true consciousness is forever kept safe, no matter how many wrong turns we may take. So if an Angulimal can become an Arahat and negate all the previous karma and become a clear slate again, then all of us have hopes. Means that no matter how many wrong turns we may have taken in life, which I am conscious of, and some of which are unconsciously taken, every time there, every moment we have the possibility, and as Shweta was sharing, that every moment we have the possibility to come back to the present moment, isn't it? Every moment, no matter how far I may have gone in my ruminations and regurgitations of past and future and present commentaries, I can still come back with a breath. I can come back to the present moment. That's really amazing. It feels like a miracle that wow, there is a breath of relief. So when you take a wrong attitude, it immediately sets off every disorder. So we see that many a times there are days where we take that wrong attitude and think everything becomes very gloomy. We are not liking people's behavior around us. Food is not nice, and people are not behaving nicely to me. And then I remember of past things which were not done nicely to me. As Sweta was sharing, that if we go into that, the moment you dip into that, there is no respite. There you have alive, the ego is still alive. And that is why Kabirji says, as long as I have breath in the body, I have to be vigilant, because it's not dying. It's don't think that it will just disappear like that one day. It's a long process. And it can be also likened to, I feel that it can be likened to a mirage. Like a mirage, you cannot fight a mirage. I cannot fight a mirage because it is actually not there, but it appears to be there. So ego consciousness is like that. We can't fight it, but it is there. If we look from far away, the mirage seems to be there. The moment we go close, it is not there. So what do we say? Whether it is there or not there? What do I call it? Exist करती है कि नहीं करती है? So like that, if we dip ourselves into our past or future worries and try to make sense of those dots, we see that we get entangled. You know? No matter how sorted we may start from the very beginning, I may be very feeling very sorted. The moment I dip myself into that, it's a very kind of entangled game there going on. And the best that we can do is to leave it apart and rise away from those things, and again, as was shared, that come back to the present moment, and there things are okay. What Tignathan shares again and again, that when I am going through a certain pain, certain person asked him that what if you always talk about being mindful of the present moment and being mindful of your breathing, what if the present moment is full of pain? Somebody asks him. So then he says, there is a video, his talk is available on YouTube. He says that when you become mindful of the breathing and come to the present moment, even when the present moment is full of pain, then you realize that there are so many other conditions of happiness available. And I don't have to be sticking to this condition of happiness which is on my mind, that only through that my happiness should arrive. Then that stubbornness is not required. So that reminded me, because I was suffering, and I was walking on, I remember one fine morning, there was something going on and it was giving me too much pain. And I was walking on this grass full of dewdrops and nice pleasant morning. And I was listening to Thich Nhat, or maybe I got reminded of his uh, talk of being mindful fully in the present moment, even with the pain. There is pain, but I am mindful and walking mindfully with breath. And suddenly my attention went to the soft dewdrops and maybe the birds chirping around, and very fine, pleasant morning, and looking at the fact that my body was healthy. I was able to walk and enjoy things around me. And I became aware that yes, that's true. There are so many other conditions of happiness available to me, if only I can drop that stubbornness of that no, my happiness has to come that way, which I am hankering after. And then I was fine. That dark cloud was not there anymore, which was overwhelming me so much. And I realized that we can coexist with a little bit of pain, which may be in the background, but things are okay. I am fine. And Thich Nhat Hanh also shares that we can exist with pain. Suffering can be there, and yet joy is also there. Suffering then goes in the backdrop, but we realize that there are so many other conditions of happiness when we are tapping into the present moment. So this switch can always be made from a wrong gear to coming back to the present moment and being in the right gear, being in a state of surrender and having faith that yes, things are painful and I don't know what's the best way. Uh, Things are not happening the way I would like, but how do I know which is the way? So then we can rest in the present moment, and the gear also becomes a right one, because then there is no friction wanting to twist and turn the situations our way. Yeah. So anything more here? It's a very sudden shift. As Mother shares that the gear is not too rigid, We don't even feel it when we are shifting. That's the thing, and that is why we slip. If it was so clear that I am shifting, then of course, every time we fall or slip into the ego consciousness, I should be aware. But we are not aware, we are caught unaware. And that is why so many scriptures have been written and avatars have to come again and again, time and again, because we slip. There is so much of blindness and ignorance, and it's a very subtle shift. The gear is not too rigid, it doesn't make itself felt. But we realize after the gear has shifted and lots of problems have come, then we realize that, oh, we may realize that, oh, I shifted the gear and I was not mindful. So the gear is, it is almost as you shifted in the wrong gear, but then of course she shares that the word gear seems very rigid. But nowadays we have these cars without gear, if those of us who may have experienced. And these cars without gear, although the shiftings may be happening within the system, but it is not a very like it's not a manual endeavor that you are doing. You are not manually switching the gear, so it doesn't make itself felt that the gear has changed or things are happening, but things are happening. It's changing, so it's not a something that we will immediately know, because that awareness, we often not have that awareness if we are practicing very in very much discipline. uh, Only then we will be aware when we are slipping. Otherwise we get to know only later in retrospect that something happened, I switched into that wrong gear. So he says that the whole universe is rolling along smoothly. Everything things are fine and people are fine. Everything is fine, and it is only when you go like this, she makes a gesture, that disorders appear. So some attitude has shifted. Some, as we were discussing, that binary operation that I have switched into now, that mode of this little me and my story and my happiness and what others are doing to me. While earlier, in the earlier moment, it was not there, it was just absent. And then there are many ways to have a wrong attitude. Of course, we know that we can begin to complain. Complaining is a very good way of entering into the ego consciousness. Then thinking about past and future anxieties and worries and insecurities, a very good way to enter into the wrong gear. And being obsessed by what happens to me all the time, and why I do this and why I do not do that. So all these self-obsessive thoughts and uh, identifying with the stream of the surface consciousness, these are very good ways to switch into that wrong gear, the wrong gear of ego consciousness. So she shares that there are many ways to have a wrong attitude. It is as if you shifted gears a little, things still work. Now, of course, when I am driving, for example, in at 50 kilometers per hour, if I am driving on a second gear, on a first gear, I am trying to drive, the car will go on, but there would be so much noise within the system. So she says that things still go on, things work, but they grate. They grate and therefore wear out and deteriorate and break down. But if they were in right position, there would be no friction. So this we see that if I am driving, then if I am in the wrong gear at a wrong speed, then we feel that friction. Something is not right. Although car is still moving, but something is not right. And then of course we switch the gear and now we say, oh, now things are easy, it's smooth now. So like that, when we are in a bad state of attitude, when we are operating from a wrong center, the ego consciousness, we see that things are still functioning, but something is not right. There are lots of friction around with people, or within me, lots of friction and uneasiness and turmoil, and outside of me, lots of things which I can complain about all the time. Hmm? There is a friction that one can feel, and it's an uneasy state. and because of that we have drainage of energy. We get wearied very easily, like the tire will kind of veer away very easily when it's a wrong kind of a gear or speed. Like that, we veer away also very easily when it's a wrong attitude, or the center that I'm operating from is not right. We get tired very easily. We want more sleep. Hmm. We maybe don't want to listen to other people because there is so much chaos in the mind that I want to be alone. I want to be alone. Give me some space. Happens with us. It's very interesting to see how these things in material nature are totally, they can be used as metaphors to explain what is going within us all the time. And when we are flowy, then of course, no problem, we are flowy. Yeah, anything here? So usually whenever it happens that we take the wrong attitude and things begin to wear out and we don't catch it early enough, then we have a disease, we have a certain illness, because the body is trying to say that please course correct, something is not right. But I am not listening to my mental stress, I am not listening to my emotional stress. I am going in the wrong attitude, very kind of pinpointed wrong attitude. There's nobody who can stop me. So the body comes down now. And through that now I can maybe fathom that something I was doing which was not uh, easy. So let just taking it as a signal, not like a punishment that, oh, now I have gotten a punishment because of my wrong attitude. Red light is not a punishment. When we have a red signal on the way, it is just a way of sorting and organizing the traffic. So, a signal in the terms of a disease or a mental stress or emotional stress or a feeling of unease, these are all signals that we have to take in that manner. This is a signal. The body is trying to tell me, the being is trying to tell me that I have to change the center within. I'm operating too much from my arrogance. So we don't have to take that as a punishment that, oh, why was it done to me? Have I done something wrong? Yes, I have done something wrong, because if you cross a red light, you can bang into someone and two people's lives can be at stake. So, in that sense, of course, it is not a very nice gesture to kind of cross red lights. That's why we have challans to keep us under check. Because otherwise, if I'm too much lost in my thoughts and I don't look at the red lights and cross, and there is no fine that I have to pay, then who would bother? So diseases or stresses of all sorts, they are like signals that if I'm uneasy, why am I feeling uneasy today? I have felt in myself that at times when I have a certain want from life, a desire and expectation that life should go in this manner, my relationship should go in this manner, this is how it should be, then it brings a lot of unease to me. And then if I can course correct that, oh, where did I get lost, let me bring myself to the breath and present moment, things are fine, then I'm okay. So that unease has to be taken like a signal, the disease has to be taken like a signal, and to come back to the present moment, and things are relatively functional and okay when we are here and now, and we are more empowered to see things in a better way and to make little changes in our life which are helpful. So anything more here? Anyone? I can just then finish reading out the last few lines. So it is the sense of friction which no longer exists. So when we are easy, when we are no longer in the ego consciousness, then there is no friction. We feel ease, we feel effortless. It disappears. There is no friction. The friction results only from the wrong angle, from something like a shift of position. Of course, this is much easier to express in psychological terms. Psychologically, it is very simple, crystal clear. But even materially, it is like that. So, as we were sharing that even material world, like how we were talking about the example of a car going on a wrong gear, that is also material. And Mother says that inside of us, materially, also it is happening that we are using the wrong angle. And that is why there is friction. That is why there is unease. So may we all have the courage, because unease will happen from time to time and wrong gear will also happen from time to time. As long as ignorance is there, there will be suffering. Sri Aurobindo shares in Savitri. But we also have the capacity to recognize the suffering, recognize the unease, recognize the wrong angle because of this light of consciousness within us, and come back to the right angle. So may we have the courage to see the wrong angle and to correct the angle and come back to a certain ease within us, a certain surrender and faith within us. That, of course, I don't know which way things have to happen in my life, and I'm trying my best to bang my head on the wall, but it doesn't seem to be the right way. So let me stop, let me pause. But that requires, of course, a great deal of strength to let go of our stubbornnesses of all sorts. So may we have that strength which is required to let go of our stubbornnesses of all sorts, and to have more faith and surrender that the Mother knows the best, the universe knows the best, and let us see the unfolding of life. Let us see. So, yes, anything more over here on the passage that we just read? Okay, so if not anything, maybe we can take a little bit of. Oh, have we done this? This is also underlined. I don't know. No, I forget where we are and I start from something and it seems completely new. And then I realize, oh, with this we have covered already. It seems that we have covered it. No? I don't know. Yeah, it's okay, Yuan.
Yeah, actually,
है
yes,
ना?
because yeah, I have this book, so the bookmark was on what is the difference between mental, vital, and
Oh
physical
God.
fear.
Okay.
It was there, but then I tried to search and I went back. Even yeah, it
Okay.
feels new this time.
It feels new. That's what I'm saying. That every
Yeah,
time I read something, it feels new and as if we have not touched it at all. So that's our blindness and ignorance. It's my ignorance that I forget. Anyway, so it's again good to reflect upon things all the time. Whenever we read words of Mother Sri Aurobindo. So maybe we can take then on this page a little bit, if it's okay. A little bit we can take. What is the difference between I think this we started mental fear and vital fear we started. This I can remember. Yeah, and then we were discussing that how when all the other noises have gotten silenced, then we become of something which is very tick tick, which was so far right now in the background. But the moment all the other noises in the backgrounds have gone away, then we become aware of the physical fear. So the physical fear, mother says, is like that. I think this we had discussed, that if we are aware of first mental fear, vital fear, the feeling, things coming from our insecurities and the thoughts, negative thinkings, and kind of feeling sweaty and all these things that are more palpable. And then we have, when we have no longer any mental and vital fear, then we can become aware of this vibration in the physical cells also. So this I am aware that we have touched upon. And then you can parallelly begin to inject faith in the cells and work upon it. This we had done. So yeah, so let us, I think, then finish it off. So this, I think, we can take where mother talks about how in the case of microbes, it happens that yeah, I think this was also we read that how one doctor who was there, he actually used this kind of a fear that in fact gave them faith that if you are vaccinated now nothing can happen to you, and people believed in him, and that's why to a great degree it was, they were saved. you know. So mother shares that uh, I think this doctor succeeded in checking this epidemic, and it was done miraculously fast. But he knew very well that the best effect of this vaccination was the confidence it gave to people. So everybody thought that, okay, now I have this, now nothing can happen. Like we have these kind of things, like we think that, okay, if you feel very cold and you know that if you cover your head, then you are okay. So it may be a figment of my imagination, but I feel really comfortable when I cover my head. Then I know that no cold can touch me if my head is covered or ears are covered. Like that, we all have our individual kind of beliefs, which at times are giving us a lot of faith that now I am safe. So he gave this faith to people that vaccination, when it is there, then all of us are safe. And that saved many people, mother shares. So let us take these last two paragraphs of this particular one, and then in the next session we can go on sanitation and health if we remember the page number. Yes, so who would like to read these two? Okay, so not many people are in the mood of reading today. I'll read. Page number 75. Now, quite recently, they have found something else, and I consider it wonderful. They have discovered that for every disease, there is a microbe that cures it. Call it a microbe if you like, anyway, some sort of germ. But what is so extraordinary is that this microbe is extremely contagious, even more contagious than the microbe of the disease. And it generally develops under two conditions: in those who have a sort of natural good humor and energy, and in those who have a strong will to get well. Suddenly they catch the microbe and are cured. And what is wonderful is that if there is one who is cured in an epidemic, three more recover immediately. And this microbe is found in all who are cured. But I am going to tell you something. What people take to be a microbe is simply the materialization of a vibration or a will from another world. When I learned of these medical discoveries, I said to myself, truly science is making progress. One might almost say with greater reason, matter is progressing. It is becoming more and more receptive to higher will. And what is translated in their science as microbes will be seen, if one goes to the root of things, to be simply a vibratory mode, and this vibratory mode is the material translation of a higher will. if you can bring this force or this will, this power, this vibration, call it what you like, into a given set of circumstances, you only will act, not only will it act in you, but it will act through contagion around you. So this also relates with what I was sharing earlier, where mother shares at another place, and Alokda also shares that we can carry our own contagion of faith. And we must have seen that if we are in the company of people who have a lot of faith and positivity about life, and that yes, no matter come what may, things are going to turn nicely and positive, it somehow enters us also. We see, for example, Alokda, we see that all the time he invokes us with this faith with the Mother and Sri Aurobindo, that if we have faith and if we just surrender to Mother all the time, remember her name, then all is good. You know, Mother, you will do. I don't know how to do, but you will do. So we see that he spreads that contagion all around. That we cannot do, but Mother knows the best. And like that, Mother says that in people who get well of a disease, as if science is discovering that there is something that they carry, the materialization of a vibration. So something happened in the vibratory domain, and then some particulate matter which formed because of that vibration. In I can also relate this with antibodies. Like in immune system, we there is an antigen, and then there are antibodies which are able to kind of disarm that antigen. So बाहर से एक germ आया, there is a germ that enters from outside the body, and then the immune system of the body makes a weapon to neutralize that germ. That is what we call antibodies in immune system. And we see that there are people who are maybe having a good immune system, are positive and have a good sense of humor. They have naturally these antibodies in them, and many a times it helps when we inject their blood into a person who is recovering from a certain germ, because those antibodies get transferred to the other person, and then he can recover quickly. So these kind of things happen all the time. And Mother says that not only that we inject somebody else's blood, of course that will work, but not only that, but also a kind of a contagion of an atmosphere, that oh look, this person is, you don't even say that this person is positive or full of optimism about life, but just the person's presence may inspire you towards your own life to take it nicely. So that's the contagion which each one of us can become, rather than being contagions of all we what we are generally, victim of situations. We can actually become this contagion of faith, contagion of surrender, contagion of a belief in something higher which is guiding our lives. Each one can become that contagion. And as Mother shares that even at the material level, this is true, that if I have recovered from a certain illness fast than some other person, on a material plane, I have presence of those particles in me, which are materialization of a higher will or a vibration, which I don't know how. And now, we have neurobehavioral sciences, so many labs which are working with neuroscientists, which are working with meditation, for example, or having the effect of positive emotions on our health, so well researched now. At my time, when I was doing my PhD, I used to become very attracted to these kind of sciences, that I want to do that, not this that I am doing, because that really attracted me. That they are studying the effect of positive emotions and gratitude, and hope and faith on health and illness. That makes sense. So these things make a difference. And whenever, of course, all of us are full of negativity and We all have our shadowy parts and darker parts, and we have our weaknesses all the time. But that is not what we truly are all the time. We are more. Sri Aurobindo shares that, look, this is the surface consciousness of man, always in turmoil and up and down and never a place of rest. And then he shares, he is this and he is much more. So we are our ups and downs, but we are more also. So why not tap into that more also from time to time? Anything here? Anyone?
I don't know if the audio is okay.
Yes, it's perfect. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, that very nice what you said. I was thinking about how many times I have been trying to help another outwardly from words and concepts, and trying to explain things, and trying to help from that, and I didn't understand this important thing, that we truly only can be contagious of what we really believe, what we really feel, what we really embody. Yeah. And if we are embodying this, whatever it is, faith, will, and peace, whatever it is enough. If we embody this, if we are really speaking from this standpoint, then we don't have to worry about trying to do anything. We really have to learn what we want to teach. It's something like that.
Yes, beautiful. The mother shares somewhere. I think some of us may know exactly. Uh, to know is good. Something like that. To know is good. Then there is another line which I'm forgetting. And at the last, she shares, but to be is the best. So, what you exactly were sharing, that we can talk about love, we can talk about healing and illness and presence of love and everything. But if we are not embodying that, if we are not that, then of course there is work to be done. And we all know that there is work to be done.
But it's truly interesting to read this, like she's saying that this is true also on a material plane. It's so interesting to understand this, like even for a physical illness or something like that. It's amazing.
Absolutely. There was this, some Buddhist short talk that I was listening to, and there in Tibetan meditation, Tibetan Buddhist practices, they have this practice of imagining oneself as a deity. So when you are doing meditations, you are imagining the full flare of, okay, this is how many arms I have, and and like Tara or some other deity, you are imagining yourself as that. There's a particular practice. So this person, this Lama who was sharing about that practice, he said something which was very, like, for a lay person like me, I could understand what he was sharing, and it was not like Greek and Latin. What he shared was that we are where. So somebody asked like a question that it can happen in my mind, that why do I need to pretend to be a deity? Why am I pretending to be a deity? So I am Monica. and you are asking me to pretend to be like Tara or Avalokiteshvara or who else. Why do I need to pretend? Now the thing is that he shares that actually we are all the time making some or the other formations in our mind, imagining myself as this and that person. But because we are habituated to that imagination, it doesn't feel like I am pretending. It feels like, no, I am this. So because I am imagining myself all the time as this limited Monica, and this is how I am and this is what I believe in, it doesn't feel like pretension, because that's what all the time I do. It doesn't feel like imagination. So he says, and Jetsunma also shares, that actually we are not Monica trying to be or pretending to be Tara. We are Tara pretending to be Monica, but we have forgotten, because we have become so habituated to our patterns of thinking. So what you were talking about, this materialization of these emotions, and whether it's gratitude or some disturbing emotion. So if disturbing emotions can materialize and result into a cancer, think about it. So such is the power of materialization, that if my disturbing emotions can materialize and yield me or give me cancer, can it not be, and would it not be, that my true gratitude, true love, true faith, true surrender reverses the process also, or brings some healing? How is it that it is not possible? So why do I mistrust, or why do I not believe then in the power of good emotions, and the powerful, empowering, true emotions that we have? When I can believe that yes, cancer can happen, that just like it can happen, it can also go away. If only I can truly, truly change myself from within. Now here comes the challenge, that at times we may be just pretending that I have changed, because it takes a long, long time to change ourselves. We have to change ourselves on all the levels of our consciousness. The mental level, the feeling level, the body level. It takes a long time. Am I ready for that perseverant effort? So things can happen, miracles happen. And we, of course, all these stories all around us are signals of those miracles happening all around us. If only we can believe in them. And isn't that a miracle, that, oh, I generated cancer for myself? Isn't that a miracle? How powerful am I? So if I can generate that, I can do other things also.
Yes, absolutely. I was recently reading a book of a doctor called David Hawkins. He speaks about A Course in Miracles. Well, anyway, he speaks about healing, and his approach is, I think I find it similar to what Mother many times teach about the way she even behaved herself, like putting everything in the divine, like giving everything, just put it to the divine. And he says that he has a similar approach to healing. And he says he was very ill for many years, about 1,000 problems he had, and so he started practicing this. Like he said that when a doctor says, well, you have this illness or that illness, we are programming ourselves, and then, but if we just feel the sensations of the body without labeling, and giving to the divine every experience without labeling this or that, and he said that this practice was a lot of really helpful for healing a lot of problems, physical problems he had, and I find it very interesting too. And yeah, so interesting what you said about the Buddhist teaching. It's true. Like we don't feel like this lower, this small self that we believe we are. We don't think it's imagination. We are imagining. If you are visualizing yourself as the deity, then it's an imagination. But wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah. I'll also share his direct video on the group. Maybe we can all hear. It was quite nice. He has another book also, which I really appreciate. So this person, the Lama, is Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, and he has written a book on something called Secret Movement of Breath or something, where he talks about how breath is connected with our mind, and how if we regulate our breath, we can actually regulate the mind. And I have some done some practices with my own self, and I see how much it is true, that actually mind is a rider riding on the breath. And if something has gone wrong in the mind, and if we change the breath pattern, actually we can correct the mind. And if and we see that how in anger, frustration, or annoyance, our breath also changes. It becomes maybe more shallow or rapid or whatever. So yeah, it's many interesting things which we can learn and practice. Yeah. So any last comments on this, anyone? So today, sorry, wrong sharing. um, yeah. So yeah, this is page number 76. So next time we can take it up if we remember. I hope we will remember on sanitation and health. We can continue on page number 76. Yeah. So any last comments before we end? All right, so let's take a moment of silence and dedicate, share all the merit collected either from this reading and reflections or from our personal efforts, dedicating it to all the sentient beings, near and far. May we all have the courage to truly, truly know who we are. May we have the courage to let go of all that limits us and falsifies our perception. And may we all have the strength required for progress on the path, and the ease and joy that comes when we are fully in the here and now. May we not suffer, and may all the causes of suffering be taken away from us. May we have true happiness and all the causes and conditions for true happiness. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.